I'm Kim Schrier. I'm a pediatrician and a wife and a mom, and I've been living and working in the Issaquah-Sammamish area for the past 17 years, taking care of thousands of children, including brand newborns. And so I hope it all goes well. I never had running for office on my radar. I figured I would teach at some point after retiring. But the 2016 election was a huge wake-up call for me. And I really consider many of the policies of this administration to be direct threats to children and to families. And so in the wake of the election, I did what a lot of people did because of my concerns about a lot of issues. I marched and I rallied, and when that first Trump care bill came out, I went and met with Dave Reichert's office and went with 3 other doctors, and we explained all the ways that repealing the ACA without a better replacement would be a huge mistake, and it would be devastating for 32,000 people in my district who would lose care. And days later, he voted for it in committee. And that was really the last straw for me, and it became clear that perhaps the voice of a mom, citizen pediatrician with type 1 diabetes could be a really important voice to contribute. I get that health and well-being of my patients is not just about access to health care, but that's certainly a big issue, especially right now when the Republican Party is trying to take health care away from so many people. But it's also about whether we have clean air to breathe and clean water to drink. And it's about whether we have a great public education system that prepares our kids for whatever path they take, and whether we can make whatever path that is affordable for them. It's about whether we have Social Security and Medicare, and it is about whether we support the middle class, because I believe our country does best when we have a strong, thriving middle class. And so those are the reasons that I'm running. I think we can do so much better. I am excited to take the voices of my patients and voices of people all over this district to Congress at a time when I really believe a lot of our representatives have lost touch with the lives of the families in the district. So thank you.
Well, I'm Dino Rossi, and I'm a father of 4 and soon to be a grandfather within the next couple of hours, I believe. And I was raised the youngest of 7, raised on a Seattle public school teacher salary. Grew up drinking powdered milk and eating hamburger helper without the hamburger. And I worked my way through Seattle U School of Business as waxing floors at the Space Needle and working construction. Started in the commercial real estate business with $200 and an old car and a janitorial job at night scrubbing toilets, and I actually started selling apartment buildings during the day in the commercial real estate business. A year and a half later, when I was 25 years old, bought my first apartment building, kept going from there. And it's really a good fortune I had in that business that allowed me to be involved in public service. There's no way I probably could have afforded it. I was elected to the state Senate, defeated an incumbent to get my Senate seat in 1996. And you think about, the reason I tell you all that, what did I do for a living from through my 20s and through my mid-30s. What I did for a living was I negotiated kind of multi-million-dollar real estate transactions with self-made millionaires and their lawyers on both sides. I didn't get paid a dime unless I got them to agree. I found those skills were in short supply when I hit Olympia, which is why by year 3 I was deputy leader of the Senate and head budget writer for the Republicans. I ended up becoming chairman of the Senate Ways and Means Committee during the largest deficit in state history. We had a 1-vote Republican majority. Gary Locke was governor. Frank Chop had a 6-vote majority in the House. As chairman, anything over 50 grand has to come past your gavel. And I stood up and I said, we are not going to raise taxes because I think it'll harm the economy and throw people out of work. But I'm going to do everything I can to protect the most vulnerable people in our society. When you think about people in nursing homes, mentally ill, people with developmental disabilities, we need to be there to help. And in the end, that's exactly what I did in a bipartisan fashion. I brought moderate Democrat senators with me. It passed through the Democrat-controlled House. Gary Locke signed it all into law. And everything I've done on a bipartisan basis. We have, I sponsored the 2-strikes route, sex crimes against children, put the bad guys away forever, which is why all of law enforcement, almost all of law enforcement has endorsed me in this race. I have endorsement from most all the mayors and county council and commissioners as well. And so I was reappointed to the state Senate last year. I kind of thought I was done, but my Senator Andy Hill had passed away. And there's really only a couple of us alive that have written the state budget, so they had, would you come back and help? And so I did. It's the second time I've been reappointed to the state Senate. I was put forward by the Republican precinct committee officers, unanimously put back in the state Senate by the Democrat-controlled King County Council because they worked with me. You know, I not only have the endorsement of pretty much all the Republicans, but I have, you know, a current Democrat state senator, a former Democrat state senator, Brian Sontag, the former auditor, and Democrat sheriff, Kittitas County, and on and on. So I have the experience of actually being able to bring people together and work cross-party lines, and I think that's what's missing in D.C.
You know, I think I have said most of everything I wanted to say. I would just reiterate, I am the community pediatrician. This was never in my life plan. I do feel this is one of those moments in history where if we really want a better world, a better country, a better district for our children, for my patients, for our grandchildren, then we all need to step up. Similar to Mr. Rossi, who says that he doesn't think about, you know, he's not looking at the next election, he's looking longer. I think that's what the perspective of a mom and a pediatrician does as well, that we don't think just to the next election. We think about the next generation and the next multiple generations. And what we do here today with respect to our public education, to the middle class, to responsible care of our planet, all matters for generations to come. And I am seeing a rollback of advances by this administration that is dangerous and puts all of that in peril. And so I'm standing up to do better and create a better district, a better country for my child and kids all over.
Thank you.
I have the experience to do this job, and I have a body of work that I'm very proud of. And I think that those are the very same things I can do in Washington, D.C. as well. You know, for the economy to flourish, it's not rocket science how it has to work. It has to be modest taxation and fair and predictable regulation within the framework of law, and let entrepreneurs go be entrepreneurs. That's really what I've always done. That's what I would try to do in Washington, D.C. as well. Because, you know, right now we have an economy that's moving and moving quite well. And there's more than almost 6.9 million jobs that are not filled at this point in time because the economy is moving strong. Repealing those tax cuts would actually stifle the economy once again. I don't want to go back to the days where just a short time ago where people were, you know, couldn't find a job, couldn't feed their family, couldn't make the mortgage. So those will be some of the things that I'll be talking about during the campaign, and those will be the things I'll be doing in Washington, D.C. if I'm fortunate enough to represent the 8th Congressional District.
Okay.